What is up, guys? Eric here from Real Film Reviews, bringing you another movie review, this time for the new Mark Wahlberg film, Mile 22. Mile 22 stars Mark Wahlberg, Lauren Cohan, Ronda Rousey, John Malkovich, and Iko Uwais. Mile 22 tells the story of a secret group of soldiers whose job it is to do the things that the United States government cannot do. So they are given the mission of taking this man who has in his possession a hard drive with the locations of 5 nuclear bombs, and he says that he will not tell them the password to get into it, and they only have 8 hours to get into it, otherwise it will eat itself alive and destroy all of the information that is on it unless they give him asylum in the United States. So they have to take him 22 miles from their base to an airport that will fly him directly to the US, and when they get to that plane, he will give them the password. So this movie has a pretty simple premise, and dear God, did they fuck it up as much as they possibly could have. This movie's directed by Peter Berg, and I'm not gonna stand here and pretend like I'm the biggest Peter Berg fan, but he's alright. Like, he did Deepwater Horizon, I liked that movie quite a bit. He did Lone Survivor, it's alright. But I don't know where all of the information that he has previously obtained in his life went in terms of making an action film when he made this movie. Because it's just a steaming pile of garbage. I have almost nothing positive to say about this film. The only thing, and this is me grasping at whatever is possibly there, is to say that Iko Uwais and Mark Wahlberg, I guess, accurately depicted the characters that they were supposed to be in the script. I wouldn't say they gave good performances, but I also wouldn't say that that's their fault. I think it's the fault more of the story that is being told, that their performances were maybe a little lackluster. But this movie does basically everything else wrong, and even that is basically done wrong as well. Like, holy shit, this movie is bad. I don't know how you have such a simple premise of get guy from point A to point B while participating in cool action sequences is hard. Like, that's like the easiest movie to make. You just have to have the budget to get the action sequences to look cool and get some decent effects and cool stunts, and you're good. That's it. That's all you need. And this movie would have been at least, you know, an okay film. But somehow they managed to fail at all of those different aspects of this film. The characters in it are exceptionally generic. Lauren Cohan has a daughter and she's divorced, and her and her ex don't get along, and it's something she struggles with. Mark Wahlberg was this hyper-intelligent kid who got drafted into this secret organization because he's so smart and he's so good at everything, and he likes to yell a lot and monologue while yelling very loudly and saying big words. And Iko Uwais is just this super well-trained special forces officer who kicks people a lot, but doesn't really have a lot of lines in the film. And they're just like the most bland, like, oh, we're making an action movie, let's try to give them some backstory. But you don't care. I didn't care about a single person in this film at all. Like, literally not in the slightest bit did I care if anyone in this film lived or died. I don't really know how you take a film about people fighting other people to get to a certain location and have it not be full of action. This movie should be 60 to 70 minutes of action in its 90-minute runtime, but instead it's more like 30, maybe 40. You could argue maybe 40 minutes of action. There's a lot of monologuing and just talking in this film that feels extremely unnecessary. Like, just out of the blue, doesn't need to be there. Why are we having this conversation right now? We should be fighting more bad guys. And then before I get into what to me is the most horrendous and terrible thing about this movie that makes it almost insulting to watch as a film fan, I'm gonna show you a couple movies. So we got The Raid Redemption, and then we got The Raid 2. Now, Iko Uwais, who plays the Special Forces officer who is trying to give them the location of these nukes, is the lead actor in both of these films. These are two of the greatest action movies ever made. They have some of the greatest stunt work ever made, and I think they have the greatest hand-to-hand combat scene I have ever seen in a film in The Raid 2. Somehow, Peter Berg and his producers and editors managed to hide the fact that this man is one of the greatest action action movie stars that is alive today. It's like they were trying to give you a seizure during this movie. There are scenes in this film that last less than 10 seconds. And I counted, sitting in the theater, just because I felt like it, 11 edits. 11 edits in a 10-second sequence. That's more than an edit a second. You can barely register what is going on in these scenes as they are happening. There is so much camera movement and shaking and distortion and close-ups to hide the stunts that it's impossible to even sort of feel like you understand what's going on. And it's not like that in just the fight scenes, like the hand-to-hand scenes. It's like that in every action scene, whether it's a shootout or a car chase or whatever. There's a car sequence where they get inside of a car, and in the span of 3 seconds in which they enter that car and leave the location they are at, there were 6 edits. 6! For a car taking a left turn over a curb. Why on earth is 6 edits necessary right there? It's not, is the answer to that question. It's just not. No one could possibly look at this film and go, this is what I call filmmaking. Because it's the opposite of what good filmmaking is. As someone who prides themselves a little bit on enjoying good action movies and having pretty high standards, I would say, for what I consider a truly great action film, because there are a lot of mediocre and bad ones out there, this movie was basically offensive to watch to me. As a fan of films like The Raid, John Wick, the new Mission Impossible, the old Die Hard films, this movie is an insult to what an action movie should be. This movie tells you, hey, you know how we're going to give you this plot that just involves a lot of action in its idea, but we're not actually going to put as much action in it? Yeah. What if instead of us showing you the action, we just show you the part at the end where there's some blood? What if we were just like, hey, you know how he's kicking all these dudes and there's all these edits and you can't really see what's going on? But what if we show you the part at the end where he stabs him in the neck? What if that part's visual to you? This movie just focuses in on the end of each scene. It's oh, there's a shootout going on and we're gonna have 18 edits in this shootout to showcase the debris and the smoke that's everywhere. But then the only stagnant shot that will be taken is of the shot to the guy's shin. So we can see the blood pocket explode and it's oh dude, it's so graphic and gory and hardcore. No, it's not. It'd be hardcore if we got to actually see all of the action that led up to that moment. The reason that action movies are engrossing is because you can see all of it. You want wide angles, big scenes, great stunt work. Films that do that are fantastic action films, and when you take that away from a movie, you very much lose everything that an action movie should be. This movie just made me mad. As I was watching it, I was just I don't understand how Peter Berg, as I said, I'm not even that big of a fan of him, how someone who made the film Lone Survivor, which again, I don't think is this mind-blowingly fantastic film, but it's solid. That movie's really decent. Was able to make a film like that included shootouts, hand-to-hand combat scenes, big stunts, and then make something like this that is just so atrociously horrible. I don't know how a director who at this point has made an insane amount of money, Peter Berg makes those movies that middle-aged people love to go watch. This man has made so much money that you know he's going to get the budget that he needs to make whatever movie he's making. Clearly, look at the cast of this film, even though most of them aren't even utilized. And to just waste this, I don't know how the editing is just so horrendously terrible. And I don't want to put it all on the editor because they might have been told by the director to make it this way, or with the way the director filmed it, they were forced to edit it that way. I don't know the stipulations or what went into it. All I know is Mile 22 is hot ass. I'm gonna give Mile 22 an F. I was really hoping that I wouldn't have to go see a movie that was worse than A Wrinkle in Time this year, but dear God, Mile 22 sure was that. As someone who loves action movies, I cannot in my right mind recommend this film to literally anyone. This movie is garbage. It's not even worth watching at 1 in the morning on a weekend when you're about to fall asleep. Never watch this film. It's a piece of trash. Well, as always, guys, I'm Eric. If you enjoyed this video, please do like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of Mile 22, share everything we do here on Real Film Reviews, and hope to see you guys later.